Hi, my name is Kathleen. Welcome to Bunny Fest 2020. I'm a volunteer with the San Diego House Rabbit Society, and I'm here today to talk to you about how to catch a stray rabbit, or as we call it, rabbit wrangling. Another rabbit wrangler, Allison, is going to interview me on this topic right now.
Can you tell us about the San Diego Rabbit Wranglers Facebook group?
Sure. Um, when I first started organizing um, all the wrangling volunteers, we were using different methods of communication. I was calling some people, I was emailing other people, I was texting some people, and it was very difficult to coordinate using all those different methods of communication. So we created one Facebook group so that everybody could communicate about a rabbit wrangling situation in one page, and people could follow it, and we could also let people in the neighborhood know this is a public source for them to see what is going on with a rabbit wrangling situation in their area. It's been great. We have a lot of volunteers um, from not just the San Diego House Rabbit Society, but from many different shelters here in San Diego. Their volunteers also are interested in helping us with that. I also wanted to talk about some of the resources we have on that page, because there's some things that come up every time you catch a rabbit. And the number one thing is, where do you take the rabbit? Legally in California, we're obligated to take rabbits to the shelter of jurisdiction. And that is determined by the zip code here in San Diego. So the San Diego Humane Society has a web page that you can type in the zip code, and it tells you what shelter has the jurisdiction. It gives you a link to their website. It gives you their phone number, so it's a great resource.
Where do these stray rabbit sightings come from?
Most of the time, people are either calling or emailing the San Diego House Rabbit Society. Sometimes we get people who will post in our group from a neighborhood group like Next Door, or a lot of the smaller neighborhood groups that are on Facebook. The majority of them come through the House Rabbit Society, though.
What advice do you have for stray rabbit reporters?
Um, Typically, we want real specific information. We want to know the location. We want to know the color of the rabbit. If there's more than one rabbit, the time of day. What we'll ask people, because sometimes we can't get volunteers out right away, is if possible, we'll ask them to leave food out for the rabbit to encourage them to keep coming back to that same spot. But we ask them to not try and catch the rabbits, because sometimes what happens in these situations is people will try and catch them, and they'll chase after the rabbits, try and grab them, and pretty soon by the time we arrive, the rabbit doesn't want to have anything to do with people, and it makes our job a lot harder. Since there are so many social media groups out there that are neighborhood oriented, we ask people to please make a post in their neighborhood group about, if you see a stray rabbit, can you please contact the House Rabbit Society, for example. One of the best resources we have when we go out on a stray call is to talk to people, because people in the neighborhood usually know about stray rabbits. They can tell you which houses they're showing up at. What I found to be really helpful is to pass out a little piece of paper that has contact information to anyone that I encounter. We kind of don't go door to door, because most people don't like solicitors, and that's kind of what we look like. But typically, since we're going in the mornings or in the evenings when people are out walking, we run across a lot of people, and we typically say, hey, have you seen a stray rabbit in this area? If we already know the color of the rabbit, hey, have you seen a white rabbit in this neighborhood? And a lot of times we get an affirmative response, and it's nice to be able to hand them a piece of paper or a card that has a phone number on that they can call when they see the rabbit again. And now I'm going to give you a demonstration of how we use some of our wrangling tools. The first one is the exercise pen that we use to corral rabbits tempt rabbits into and then corral them, or encircle rabbits if you can get close enough to them in the first place. The pens we're using here today are from KW Cages. It's a 24-inch pen with grid style wire, so that when you're going after youngsters, they're not going to slip through the bars. This, over the years, has become my favorite pen to use for wrangling. I will go out with about 6 of these when I go out by myself. Here we have our stray rabbit, and typically I would not be this close to the setup because I want the rabbit to be comfortable going in there. So we'll assume I'm stepping back, but our rabbit goes into the pen to check out the nice goodies that I've left for him. We typically leave foods that smell good or sweet, what would be treat foods, not foods that we would give them on a day-to-day basis. I usually go out with apple, carrot, banana. So our rabbit is now interested in the food, and I'm able to close the pen behind him. I will try and get them to go into a carrier instead of actually physically grabbing them. It's just less trauma on the rabbit. What I will do is typically try and guide them into the carrier. There. Successful rabbit wrangling. Sometimes an exercise pen won't work, either because of the terrain or because you can't get close enough to the rabbit to set up a corral or herd the rabbit in. Sometimes you have rabbits in park situations or neighborhood situations where they're staying in some hedges. They come out a little bit to eat food that's been left for them, nibble on the grass, and the second anyone gets close to them, they're back in there. In those situations, we like to use a humane trap. This is the one that I recommend. We actually get these from a place called Harbor Freight. It's their medium animal trap. It's inexpensive, it works really well, and we've had a lot of success with it. I always bring a shovel when I use the trap because you want to level the ground where the trap is on so that when the rabbit steps in, it's not wobbly. We put the same types of sweet, heavy foods in the back of the trap so that they have to struggle a little bit with the food, maybe trying to exit and take it somewhere, and they'll typically set off the trigger plate. We always make sure that these traps are monitored, either by one of our volunteers, or if we are coaching a homeowner to use them, we make sure that they understand that they should be monitoring the trap anytime it's being used. We don't want a rabbit sitting in a trap where they are vulnerable to strangers or other animals. Sometimes we've used nets to catch rabbits. I remember using them on inclines where we can get close to rabbits, not close enough to grab. So the nets have been really useful in those kind of situations. Another tool that we use in a lot of our urban rescue attempts are pool noodles. They're great for nudging rabbits out from under cars if you can't encircle a car with exercise pens and you need to set up a pen somewhere else. This can help you get that rabbit out from under and headed in the direction where you want him or her to go. The last thing I need to talk to you today about is protection. Sometimes you'll be in areas where it's brushy and you need to be wearing clothing that is more protective. Boots, long socks, long pants, long sleeve shirt, a jacket, and gloves. Also on the subject of protection, if you live in an area where there has been an RHDV outbreak, you need to make sure you are disinfecting your items with a product like Rescue so that you're not spreading the virus to your rabbits at home or any future rabbits that you may be wrangling. Hopefully all this information will lead to successful wrangling on your part. Thank you for listening.